What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel, and in today's video I'm going to be making my 2020 record prediction for the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were one of the best teams last year, had the best record in the regular season, 14-2. They started off the season 2-2, went on a 12-game win streak, and had the #1 seed in the AFC. They were led by MVP quarterback, second year Lamar Jackson. Had an unbelievable season, set the record for most rushing yards by a quarterback, and he also led the NFL in passing touchdowns. So it's just a fantastic year for Lamar Jackson. He got all the votes for MVP. I think it was extremely deserved. He definitely was the best player in the NFL last year, in my opinion. They made it to the playoffs, of course, but they lost in the divisional round against the Tennessee Titans. It was a pretty big surprise, but it's kind of the type of football the Ravens played. If they go behind, it's kind of tough for them to come back up, and that's really why they lost some of their games earlier in the season. So really the way to take advantage of this Ravens team is to try and score some points early and then take advantage of that. But with that being said, let's get into this prediction. Like I said, last year they finished 14-2, and they started off this year with a game against the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns are an interesting team to me because they're a team that either can be very good or they can be just below average. There was a lot of hype around the Browns last year, and there's a lot of hype around the Browns again this year. I understand this year, but then again, last year when there was so much hype, they just completely flopped, and they could do that again. Baker Mayfield in his rookie season was fantastic, set the record for most passing touchdowns by a rookie quarterback in NFL history. And then last season, really, the only way I can really say it is horrendous. Just so many interceptions, not enough touchdowns, not enough yards. And I really don't think the Browns coordinators and coaches really believe in Mayfield as much as they did before, because they were talking to Cam Newton, and they signed Case Keenum to a pretty big contract to be a backup quarterback. So if Mayfield plays bad, I would not be shocked if he gets replaced this year. But I don't really see this being too tough a game for the Ravens. I definitely think the Ravens are better than the Browns. And if the Browns are going to be better, it's going to take some time, in my opinion. I don't think right off the bat they're just going to win every single game. So I'm going to give the Ravens a pretty easy win at home. Maybe it can be close, but I think the Ravens are definitely better than the Browns. I'm going to give them the win. Week 2, they play the Houston Texans. Texans were such a good team last year, really fun to watch. They were just a fantastic team. I mean, Deshaun Watson's easily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. There's only a few that are better than him. And it was just a very fun team, very talented team to watch last year. But this season they traded their #1 receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, which was a huge mistake. I don't know what Bill O'Brien was doing when he decided on that, but that is really going to hurt them. I still think they will be a contender this year because I really do believe Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's extremely talented, and he can really carry this team. And they still do have some good receivers because one of them is Brandon Cooks, who they just traded for. But it's going to be a rough year for the Texans compared to some of their other seasons in the past. I don't think they'll be bad. I definitely don't. But if you're losing your #1 receiving target, especially when you're still a young quarterback and you haven't really played without that player yet, you're definitely going to struggle. So, though I think he is a very good quarterback, I definitely think he's going to struggle a bit. So I'm going to give the win to the Ravens early in the season on the road to the Texans. Week 3, they play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are easily one of the best teams in the NFL. I don't think there's any doubts. Such a good team. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL, in my opinion. He's only played 2 seasons. He's just a special player, and this team is just special. They got the running game better in the draft with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Their wide receiving group is really, really good. I mean, they have a lot of speed. Sammy Watkins is really good. Michael Hardman is really emerging as a pretty good receiver. And then, of course, Tyreek Hill. You can't not talk about that guy. Extremely fast and extremely talented as well. And then the defense. Defense is a bit worse, but there's still so much talent on that team. And then Travis Kelce, again on the offense, Travis Kelce. They have some good offensive linemen. This team is just stacked. But I actually could see the Ravens winning this when it's a home game. It's actually a Monday Night Football game, which really surprised me. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. This is a game that could go either way, I really think. But I'm going to give the win to the Ravens. I definitely think the Ravens are good enough to get this win, so I'm going to give them the win. Week 4, they play the former Washington Redskins, but now the Washington Football Team. Obviously, the football team is just a temporary name, but for now, it is the Washington football team, which is pretty funny, to be honest, that they named themselves the football team. But some people are probably still going to call them the Redskins, but I'm going to call them the football team because that is their name. In my opinion, the football team is the worst football team in the NFL. A lot of people are saying it's the Jaguars, but I don't think so. I think the Ravens are really, or sorry, not the Ravens. The football team is a very, very bad team. I mean, Dwayne Haskins, I thought he could be good. He was not good last year. He was really bad, and he probably won't be much better because they brought in they didn't really bring anyone else to play quarterback other than him. And I think he deserves a chance, but I just don't think he'll be good enough. There's just a lot of holes in that team, and I just don't see him doing much damage this year. I'm going to give this win to the Redskins, no problem. The Ravens. Week 5, they play the Bengals. The Bengals definitely got better this offseason, drafting Joe Burrow. They made some good moves. I'm not so sure about the franchise tagging A.J. Green because it was a bit questionable for me, but he's still going to help out this team, no doubt. Von Bell, I believe they brought in. That was a fantastic signing, in my opinion. So, Bengals made some good moves, but I don't think they're good enough to beat the Ravens, especially on the road. So, I'm going to give an easy one to the Ravens here, but I definitely think the Bengals are a lot better. Week 6, playing the Eagles. In my opinion, the Eagles are actually a very, very talented football team. When you really, really look at it, this team has a lot of talent, and if they can stay healthy, which is not sure because, they haven't stayed healthy for the past few years. But if they can stay healthy, the Eagles will be a Super Bowl contender. Carson Wentz I think, is a special quarterback. A lot of people don't really think he's a good quarterback. But when you look at what he's doing with not the best receiving targets, Greg Ward, last year, for the most part, Greg Ward was one of his leading wide receivers. You probably didn't know who Greg Ward was going into that season. Be honest. He really elevates his receivers. He elevates his team. I just think this is a team that has a lot of talent. I think Carson Wentz, if they can stay healthy, Carson Wentz can definitely have an MVP-type season. I'm not saying that's completely sure. He could get injured. The team could get injured, but the Eagles are a very good team, in my opinion. I'm going to give the Eagles the win, especially because this game is in Philadelphia. I'm going to give the Eagles the win. Week 7, they play the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to be a lot better this year. They easily have a top 5, maybe even top 3 defense in the NFL. That defense is stacked. Their offense was not very good last year, but that was because they had backup quarterbacks. They really did not have anybody that good playing quarterback. Devlin Hodges and Mason Rudolph, not good, okay? But now they're bringing back Ben Roethlisberger, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They should be a lot better. I'm still going to give the Ravens the win at home, but Steelers are a team to look out for. Week 8, they have a bye. Week 9, they play the Colts. In my opinion, the Colts are a bit overrated this season. I still think Phillip Rivers is a very good quarterback, but, he just really struggled last year with a really good receiving core. So I think I'm going to need to see a little more of him before I can really call this team a serious contender. And I know that there are people who think this team is a contender, and I understand why. Phillip Rivers has a good pass. T.Y. Hilton can be a good receiver while he's healthy, which he really wasn't last year. They have a solid defense with players like Malik Hooker. So if everything can go their way, Colts could be a good team, but I'm going to give the Ravens a win here. Week 10, they play on the road against the Patriots. Patriots, of course, recently signed Cam Newton, and a lot of people think that's really going to change things. In my opinion, that's not going to change things. I still think Jarrett Stidham will be the Week 1 starter. Maybe Cam Newton will be the starter at this point, but I don't see Cam Newton doing much this year. The style he played in Carolina really doesn't fit the style that Tom Brady has played with the Patriots for the past few years. I don't know if Bill Belichick and Cam Newton are going to work out together. Cam Newton's been injured. He hasn't really played. He was really, really bad when he did play. He was overthrowing passes. He couldn't get anything going in the running game. So I don't think this is the year for Cam Newton and the Patriots. I think maybe 2021 they could have a big season. I just do not see it happening this year, so I'm going to give the Ravens a win. Week 11, they play the Titans. Of course, the Titans knocked them out in the playoffs last year. It should be an interesting one. I really think it should be an interesting one. It's a game that could go either way. One of the Ravens' tougher games this season. I am going to give them the win. They are at home. I think the Titans, some people are overrating them a little bit because, like, they only barely made it into the playoffs last year, and if they really can't feed the ball to Derrick Henry like they did late in the season, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, I think they're a very good team, and I do have them in the playoffs, but I just think that it's a lot more questionable when, I mean, Ryan Tannehill was a good quarterback, but, like, can he really lead this team to the playoffs on his own with some not great receiving targets? Sure, he definitely has some really good ones, but there are some that definitely need an upgrade. I still think the Titans are a good team. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. Week 12, they play on the road. The Steelers, talked about the Steelers already, but this one I'm actually going to give the Steelers the win. I think the Steelers are going to be really, really good this year. This game is in Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the Steelers. Week 13, they play the Cowboys in Baltimore. The Cowboys are a good team, in my opinion, but I don't really know if they're going to be able to beat the Ravens. This is a Thursday night game. This is actually their second straight Thursday night game. Steelers game is on Thursday night, and so is this game against the Cowboys, which I thought was pretty interesting. But Thursday night game, I'm going to take the Ravens. I think the Cowboys are definitely going to be better this year, but I definitely still think there are things that need to be done before they can be a serious contender. I think like I said, I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be good, but I'm going to give the win to the Ravens at home. Week 14, they play the Browns on the road. I'm going to give the Browns the win. I talked about them earlier. The Browns are just an interesting team, in my opinion. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be playing a lot better at this point, if he is still playing at all. But I do think he will, and I'm going to give the Browns the win. It could be close, but I'm going to give the Browns the win. Week 15, I see the Ravens having no problem playing on the road or at home against the Jaguars. Like I said earlier, I think the football team is the worst team in the NFL, but the Jaguars are very, very close. I mean, I'm hoping for Minshew and some of these players to really be able to do good, but just it's like a bad environment, bad owners. It's just not, the Jaguars just really aren't a good team right now, and it's not really a place you want to be. And they're kind of ruining some talent, but yeah, I just don't see the Jaguars being that good. Easy win. Week 16, I have an easy win as well at home against the Giants. Giants are okay in my opinion, but they're not even close to the talent of the Ravens. This should be an easy win at home. Week 17, Bengals again. I'm going to give the Ravens a win again, but I could see this being a loss on the road in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is definitely going to be good at this point. I mean, he's going to be a lot better than when he started the year because, you know, you grow as a player when you play more, obviously. And especially if the Ravens are benching their starters. I mean, if they have a playoff spot secured, and even maybe if they have the number 1 seed secured, because, well, it's less likely because now there's only one team that gets a bye, but if it's like last season when they're 14-2 or 13-2, and the next best team has, 3 or 4 losses, maybe they bench the starters and maybe they drop this one. I could see it being a loss, but I think it will be a win. I think the Ravens are better. So now, as I always do, I'll go through each game once again. I'll give my predictions for I think will win. I think they'll beat the Browns, the Texans, the Chiefs, the football team, the Bengals. I think they'll lose their first game to the Eagles. I think they'll beat the Steelers, and after the bye, I think they'll beat the Colts and the Patriots and the Titans. I think they'll lose to the Steelers, but beat the Cowboys, then lose to the Browns, and then beat the Jaguars, Giants. Bengals have a record of 13-3 on the year, so I do think it will be a step back from last year, but it's really not a tough schedule when you look at it. I mean, the toughest games realistically are at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, on the road at the Eagles, and on the road against the Steelers. Those aren't the toughest games. I mean, the Chiefs are a really good team, but it is at home, so you can definitely see them winning. The Eagles are just a big question mark. Can they stay healthy? Because if they can stay healthy, that could be an easy Ravens win. And the Steelers, will Ben Roethlisberger really be able to be as good as he was a few seasons ago? So, honestly, they're one of the few teams I could see going undefeated, and I really do not think that's happened. I think will happen. I don't think that's very realistic. But I could see 15-1 as a real possibility. I think they'll fall down to 13-3 though. So these are my thoughts for the Baltimore Ravens this year. What are your guys' thoughts? Tell me in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you are new around here, feel free to subscribe for more NFL and college football content. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.